Good evening. Today we're going to do weird laws or like weird rules that people had to follow, like maybe at other people's houses or something like that. But we're going to see if some people join before we start. It's really cold where we are. Is it cold everywhere else? Like, if you guys are watching, like, is it cold where you're at? Because it is cold here. I think it's 30 some degrees. So, like I said, we're going to do weird laws and weird rules that people had to follow, like if they went to somebody else's house or something like that. So, do you guys want to start with weird laws or weird rules? $43 is a little warmer than 30. I think it's like 30 or 32 degrees. It's super cold. Um, we can start with weird laws then. We'll do weird laws first. But the weird rules that people had to follow was pretty good too. So, because we're from West Virginia, I'm going to start with a couple West Virginia ones and then I have other ones. Now, some of these are like no longer used or no longer enforced. Like they were just maybe old laws on the books that previously were on there. And a lot, like I said, a lot of them, some of them may even be like old folklore or stuff like that. But so in West Virginia, it is legal to collect roadkill for consumption, which is absolutely disgusting. Like, you don't know how long it's been there. That's disgusting. Like, I would not be okay with that. And, well, I mean, I guess if you hit a deer and took it home, like, at least you know it's fresh. But if you hit a deer and then, you know, somebody else hits the deer and it's been there a week, I probably wouldn't touch it. And then it was on the books that it was illegal to whistle underwater. Like, I don't even know how you do that. Like, how would you? I don't even know how you would whistle underwater. So, some laws in some other places are in Singapore, you're not allowed to chew gum. They apparently have like pretty stringent and strict rules in Singapore. And there's some other ones. But I just thought it was interesting that you couldn't chew gum. Like, you can be fined for chewing gum. I mean, I get why they're doing it. Like, they're trying to keep their place clean. Until 2024, adultery was a crime in New York, which I'm pretty sure, like, in 2024, that's when they made it to where that was no longer a crime. In Missouri, it is bear wrestling is illegal. I would not want to wrestle a bear at all. Do I have any interest in wrestling a bear? Like, I would totally lose that fight. So apparently there's this law in Georgia. It's not even, I don't even know if it's on the books, but it's kind of like, I guess more of a funny. It's illegal to eat fried chicken with anything other than your hands. I'm guessing if you showed up with a knife and a fork, it would not be okay. In Georgia, it is illegal to wear hoods, masks, etc. to hide identity. And that's for the purposes of, like, I guess being out in the middle of the night. Like, what purpose would you have to hide your face if you weren't doing something you weren't supposed to be doing? So this one may be more like lore, but in Kansas, it's illegal to serve ice cream on cherry pie. I don't particularly care for ice cream on my pie, but I know a lot of people do. In Oklahoma, it is illegal to make faces at a dog. Some people like ice cream on their pie. I just like whipped cream. I love cherry pie, but just like whipped cream or something. In Alabama, it is illegal to drive while blindfolded. I can't imagine why you would drive blindfolded, but I kind of would have guessed that one might have been a given. But in Vermont, in order to wear false teeth, women must get written permission from their husband. Now, that law was in 1856. It's no longer on the books, but I found it interesting that even then, something so minute took permission to do so. In Montana, it is illegal for a wife to open her husband's mail. Now, I don't think this law is specific for any, like, isn't it illegal to open anyone's mail regardless of relationship? Like, I'm pretty sure you're not allowed to open somebody else's mail. Yeah, I don't think so. In Maine, it is illegal to bite your landlord. My question is, why? Why would you want to? In Alabama and Georgia, it is illegal to have ice cream in the back pocket, like in your pants pocket. Because that's just that's kind of a crazy one. In Kansas, it is illegal to throw knives at men in striped suits. Apparently, everybody else is okay. Just if you're wearing a striped suit, it's illegal. In Tennessee, as of 2011, it is illegal to share your Netflix password with anybody. In Las Vegas, it is illegal to hula hoop on Fremont Street, which I've never been to Vegas, so is that like the main strip through Vegas? I have no idea. I don't know why that particular street, but no idea. And then the last one I could find that was like funny or legitimate was Fairbanks, Alaska. It is illegal to give a moose alcohol. or any moose. Which I kind of would have assumed like it's probably like frowned upon to give any animal alcohol, but so people put ice cream in their back pocket, and that's illegal. Interesting. That one would have been a good one to get to, yeah. But I didn't see that one. Okay. Do you guys know of any like weird laws? I mean, even if they're not still on the books, they're just like previous ones. Like I've heard a rumor for West Virginia laws that it used to be legal to hit your wife on the courthouse stairs on Sundays only. But I couldn't like actually find that one to verify it, but I've heard that one as a rumor. But I don't, if I couldn't verify it, then I didn't put it on here. So, some weird rules. So, these were like people that had either gone to someone else's house or had these rules in their own home. But they were just rules that their parents or other people's parents implemented. Um, so, one person's parents had a rule that if their friends came over, that the friends were not allowed to eat any of their food. So if they come over after school and they all want to get a snack, it's fine for that person's kids to get a snack, but not the friends. From where I find it goes back to horse stealing from ice cream in the back pockets and then to try to steal the horses with it. Oh, okay. That's kind of interesting. When it comes to old laws, not only do I want to know the law, but I'm kind of curious, like, why it was implemented, like why you felt it necessary. Like the person driving around blindfolded, like who did that to make that have to become a law? The next weird rule is someone was told as they were growing up that they were not allowed to drink anything while eating their dinner because they were concerned that if they drank too much, they wouldn't eat all their dinner. I don't know about you, but I cannot eat dinner without something to drink. But I've seen like different people say that they weren't allowed to drink when they were eating dinner when they were kids. But what if you're having like biscuits? Like you need a drink. I need to have a drink while I eat for sure. Um, this person used to work in an office where they would have to ask to go to the restroom while they were working. Like as an adult, to have to ask to go to the restroom, I don't know about all that. Yeah. Like, what if you're you have an upset stomach or something, like you're constantly asking to go to the bathroom rather than just doing it quietly. One woman grew up in a house where her mother made it very clear that salt and pepper were for guests only. Like their family was not to use the salt and pepper. It was only for guests that would come over. Like I put salt and pepper on everything. Like absolutely everything. Well, I wouldn't say everything. Like I don't put it on ice cream, but um, this person grew up in a home where they were not allowed to say the word fart because it was considered a bad word. Like I'm sure, like I could see someone coming up with like or saying something to the effect of maybe you should come up with a better way to say it, but not being allowed to say it at all is kind of crazy. The people would not last a day in my home because that's a word used a lot when you have boys. This person grew up in a home where they were not allowed to wear any hats backwards. Thing one would not make it. He wears all of his hats backwards. But it hasn't been until like recently he started wearing hats anyways. He probably should just get his hair cut. Then he probably won't need a hat. Heard about not leaving what on kitchen tables or counters. Yeah, I don't want him to put his hat on the table. I grew up like people that wore hats didn't wear them at the table and you didn't put your hat on the table. I don't care if he wears his hat at the table, but don't take it off and sit it on the table. This person grew up in a home where the father would not allow anyone to talk at the dinner table. I kind of feel like that's where you're like dads are going to work and sometimes moms go to work and sometimes moms are busy through the day. Your kids are at school. Like that's your time to kind of communicate and have a conversation and see where your kids are and how they're doing and how their day was, and to not be able to talk at the dinner table wouldn't like that's like the only place you can really do that. Like I when the kids were little, we would have dinner at the table just so I could hear about their day. Don't put your elbows on the table. I think that's more like a I agree, but I think that's more is that more like a is that a respect thing? Like I don't understand. I always followed that rule, but I don't understand that rule. I think tonight's stream's going to be a little on the shorter side as well because I have the nephew and right now they're being quiet, but I can't promise it's going to stay that way. So we may end up doing a bit of a shorter stream tonight just because of that. So I'm not being rude or disrespectful, but people that are currently in my stream are older. So what were some rules that you had to follow as kids that don't really apply now? So not putting your hat on the table is because of bad luck? I just think it's because it's dirty. Like you sweat. Don't put your hat on the table. This person, when they were growing up, said that when they were sick as kids, they had to lay on a towel on the floor as to not get germs in their bed. So I'm like picturing this in my head. If you're sick, the last place you want to be is like on the floor. But most laws and rules came about because of people doing stupid things. Well, for sure. For sure. Or what about like if it wasn't a rule that you all had to follow, like an old wives' tale or a myth that like I had this one person who would only enter and exit. Like if they came in the front door, they would have to leave through the front door. Not allowed to wash your hands at the kitchen sink. So any person that needed to wash their hands had to go to the bathroom to wash their hands, but they were not allowed to wash their hands at the kitchen sink. That one's kind of interesting. Because if you're doing the dishes, aren't you in theory washing your hands as well? I guess I don't understand that one. I would be in trouble too because I wash my hands a lot. A kid grew up in a house where the stepdad did not allow any of the people to use any furniture. So they were not allowed to sit on the couch. They were not allowed to eat at the dining room table. They were not allowed to sit in the chairs. So basically, the furniture was for show. Another one said, once our dad went to bed, no flushing the toilet, regardless. That's kind of gross. No one was allowed to shower if they were home alone for another person. Which, I mean, I guess if you're on the younger side, I can kind of understand that, like if you fall or whatever. But if you're a teenager, I don't understand why you can't shower if you're home alone. Some of these are just like, I don't know that I would say weird, but like off, different. This couple bought a house because of the pool, but would not allow their children to swim in the pool because it was for decoration only. If we had a house with a pool, I wouldn't be able to keep all those kids out of it. Apparently, it's only for decoration. No, like if she would come to someone's house to visit, if she entered through so our house has two doors. So if she came through the front door, she had to leave through the front door. If she came through the side door, she'd have to leave through this. Like whatever door she entered, she would have to exit out of. I'm guessing it was more like a superstition. Um, while visiting at a friend's house, I was asked to pay for the dinner and to bring my own pillow and blanket. So I get bringing your own pillow and blanket, but if I charged my son's friends for every food that they would have here, I'd be rich. No talking in the car. I don't think I would be able to, if my kids were in the car and not talking, I would think something is wrong. It is, to me, that is kind of rude hospitality, because if you invite someone to your home, the premise is that you're going to, eat with them. If I send my kid somewhere, I'm going to expect that if they're spending the night, they're going to be eating. Just like I would expect that when he would invite friends over, I fed them. It is kind of rude hospitality, yeah. I thought so, anyways. So, did you have any rules when you were growing up that you felt were unreasonable, or if you went to a friend's house you felt were unreasonable? I don't think I ever went to a friend's house where I felt like, yeah, but that kind of should be a given. That's one thing I think these days is kind of lacking a little, but I don't want to give my full opinion on certain things because I'm not trying to, like, I don't want to cause division. I just want to, but no, I do think some modesty is missing today. I'm not saying that you should have to cover up everything, but if you're some things like that, some modesty would be nice. I tend to err probably a lot more modest than most people. Um, I'm extremely modest. I don't remember going to anybody's house that made me feel like that rule was unreasonable, and I don't remember even being at like grandparents' houses. And there was a theory with some of the great grandparents and some of the grandparents that children were meant to be seen and not heard. Um, but I don't necessarily agree with that. Because I sort of am of the opinion that sometimes kids teach you just as much as you're teaching them. I mean, they shouldn't like interrupt a conversation. Like if you're standing there talking with someone, they shouldn't interrupt. But that goes for a child or an adult. So, but I do feel like you learn just as much from kids as they learn from you. When I was a kid, it was like I don't know. There were things that, for instance, if my grandfather took us fishing, we had to bait our own hook. Now, as a kid, I didn't mind that. As an adult, I'm not touching the bait to put on the fishing hook. I'm not going to do it. I don't mind going fishing. I just don't actually want to bait it. I don't. Well, it depends on what kind of fish. Like certain fish, I don't mind. Other fish, I'm not taking it off the hook. I learned little tricks of the trade to get them off the hook, so I didn't have to touch them. like take a pair of pliers and put it on the hook and you maneuver the hook in a way that the fish kind of just falls off. Because I don't really want to take the fish off the hook. So you learn different things. But I'm kind of the same way with other stuff. Like when Papa B and I first got together, I don't touch any kind of raw meat. So I've learned ways of cooking that I don't have to touch raw meat. I can fry chicken and never have touched the raw meat at all. Not touched it. I can't believe they're still being quiet. I'm just waiting for the ball to drop. They have food, so that might be partially why they're being quiet. I'm debating on what we're going to do on Wednesday. We might do like finish the famous sayings. So like the early bird gets the worm. And see how many of them the kids know. But I have to kind of talk to them and see what we're going to do on Wednesday. We'll definitely be playing some sort of game. But I think it would be interesting to see how many of them they know and how many of them they don't know. Some of them they're more likely to know because there's some of them I still use. And then they have grandparents and older teachers and things like that that have used them. It'll be interesting. I don't really have anything else. So if you guys have like more rules or things that you did when you guys were growing up, like I wouldn't mind to see those. Were you all of the generation where like you were to be seen and not heard, or was it encouraged of you to interact just as much as the adults were? For some reason, I feel like one of you for sure is going to be of the generation of you were to be seen and not heard. And I'm just waiting to see if that person says that they were. So you surprised me. I can see that it depends on who's around and what they were doing, but you kind of surprised me with the seen and not heard part. Is that more with your parents or your grandparents? Got you. Okay. That makes sense. So it depends on the situation, really. Gotcha. I don't ever remember being in a situation as a kid where I was told you're to be seen and not heard. My grandma was a little bit more on the like you got an elbow if you weren't supposed to be talking then. Um, but I don't think I was ever actually outright told any of that stuff. But I guess every generation is different too. Like when my kids were little, I wanted them to feel comfortable enough to come ask me a question if I was talking to someone, but I didn't want them to interrupt. Mainly more when the adults were around, yeah. It is different. That I feel like with rules like seen and not heard, it depend. For your generation, it was probably, somewhat of a big thing, depending on circumstances. But prior generations, it was probably absolutely not. And then now it's more like, I don't want you interrupting, but if you want to be a part of the conversation and have something to offer, that's fine. You had to walk behind your parents? Like purpose? Like why? Why behind them? I'm trying to remember. Because you walk too slow. I'm trying to remember. I don't think there was a specific place we were told to walk. A lot of don't take off and hold my finger or hold my hand. I always did the kids like they would hold my pinky um, when they were really little. So it seems like more strict of a dad, less strict of a mom. Yeah. Oh, I don't let my kids walk anywhere close to the road. Would you say that that's like typical of any generation where dads seem to be more strict and moms seem to be less strict, or do you think that's like newer generations? Like the last three generations? Because I've heard stories of some moms being like way more strict than the dads. Mm-hmm. Oh, grandma was definitely the more strict one. But I also feel like if you went too far, he would have been the one to like completely lose it. She was strict though, for sure. And she more so had that opinion about kids being seen and not heard until they get older, and then it's different. But she was probably tired. I would say she was like just like whatever, I'm tired. I think I was more strict when they were younger. Right. I think you're definitely more strict when they're younger because you want them to learn right from wrong early so that when they get into those teenage years, it's a little easier. It's not easy, but it's a little easier. Because you know that they know right from wrong, but they still make mistakes. Which, I mean, as long as they're learning from them, it's one thing. But I also have the opinion, and I know a lot of people disagree with me, but I also have the opinion that I'm not your friend. When it comes to my kids, I'm not their friend. They got plenty of friends. They don't need more friends. They need a parent. They need a person to talk to and be held accountable. Some people disagree with that. I do have like a whole parenting one I'm going to do too, where I definitely am going to need like other parents, because I feel like comparing notes. But yeah, I'm not their friend. Now that thing one is older, he comes to me for what I call advice. I'll give you my opinion, but either choice you make, you're the one that has to deal with the consequences, not me. But I still go to people for advice, and I definitely need it sometimes. I don't care how old you get. I don't think life gets any easier. Like, you still need advice. You still need to talk to people. You still need to have those interactions. And what would you do in this situation? Because sometimes you might get an opinion that you didn't even think about that might work better in that scenario. My sister and I compare notes sometimes. Like, I'll ask her for advice. She asks me for advice. We compare notes. Um, Sometimes I go to older people for advice because they've already been there and done that. So if they made it through, there's something that they obviously know that I don't. Getting advice is not necessarily a bad thing for sure. Doesn't mean you have to take it. It just means maybe they've already been there and done that. Well, since they've been quiet this long, I think I'm gonna count my blessings and go ahead and end it before chaos ensues. Yeah, we'll definitely be playing some sort of game on Wednesday, so hopefully we can find something that everybody can play, including you all. But I think we're going to go ahead and end it here. Good night, guys. Mm-hmm. Good night.